You have probably heard it 1,000 times. All roads lead to God. Every religion is just a different path up the same mountain. It sounds beautiful, tolerant, even loving. But here is the question very few people are willing to ask out loud. Is it actually true? This is not a small question. This is not a matter of personal preference, like choosing between coffee and tea. This is a question about the nature of reality itself, about whether truth exists, and about whether the God who created the universe has actually revealed himself to humanity in a specific, concrete, and definitive way. Today I want to offer you the Catholic answer to this question, not my personal opinion, not a feel-good slogan, but the reasoned, historical, and doctrinal position. And I want to do this with complete respect for those who disagree, because the truth is never served by hostility or condescension. Let me begin by acknowledging something important. There are millions of sincere, good-hearted people who believe that all religions are essentially the same. Perhaps you are one of them. Perhaps you believe in God, you try to live a good life, and you find peace in visiting churches, temples, or sacred spaces without committing to any particular faith. You might call yourself spiritual, but not religious. You appreciate the beauty of religious traditions without accepting that any single one of them holds the complete truth. I understand this perspective. In a world torn apart by religious conflicts, the idea that all faiths are equally valid seems like a path toward peace and harmony. It seems tolerant. It seems humble. It seems kind. But I want to invite you to consider something that might be uncomfortable at first. What if this position, despite its good intentions, is neither historically accurate nor logically coherent? What if the very tolerance it seeks to promote actually prevents us from encountering the deepest truth about God and about ourselves? Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who later became Pope Benedict XVI, once addressed this exact question in a remarkable book called Salt of the Earth. He was being interviewed by a journalist named Peter Seewald, who at that time was not religious at all. Seewald asked the cardinal why the Church could not simply accept a more open position regarding religious pluralism. After all, are not all religions good? The cardinal's response was direct and clear. He said that it is simply not true that all religions are good. It is not true historically, and it is not true logically. This answer might sound harsh at first, but as we will see, it is actually the most honest and ultimately the most loving response we can give. Let us begin with history, because history does not lie. Throughout human civilization, there have been religions that demanded human sacrifice. There have been cults that practiced ritual murder, that enslaved entire populations in the name of their gods, that celebrated cruelty as a form of worship. The Aztecs tore the beating hearts from living victims. The Canaanites burned their children alive as offerings to Moloch. Even today, there are religious movements that inspire terrorism, that preach hatred, that justify violence against innocent people in the name of the divine. Now, I want to be very clear about something. We live in societies that rightly protect religious freedom. In the United States, this is a foundational principle, and the Catholic Church herself teaches that every person has the right to seek God according to their conscience without coercion. But acknowledging religious freedom as a civil right is not the same as saying that all religions are equally true or equally good. Some religious practices violate the very dignity of the human person. Some religious teachings contradict the most basic principles of justice and love. To pretend otherwise is not tolerance. It is a refusal to see reality as it is. But history is only part of the answer. Let us now consider logic, because the laws of thought apply to religion just as they apply to everything else. Here is the simple truth. Contradictory claims cannot both be true at the same time. If Christianity teaches that Jesus Christ is God incarnate, the second person of the Holy Trinity who became man, And if Islam teaches that Jesus was merely a prophet and that God could never take human form, then both positions cannot be correct simultaneously. One of them must be wrong. This is not intolerance. This is simply how truth works. 2 plus 2 cannot equal both 4 and 5. A door cannot be both open and closed at the same instant. And this brings us to the most important point of all, the thing that sets Christianity apart from every other religion in human history. Christians do not merely claim to follow a wise teacher. We do not simply honor a great prophet or venerate an enlightened master. We make a claim that is utterly unique, absolutely singular, and completely unprecedented. We claim that God Himself entered human history. We claim that the eternal creator of the universe, the infinite being who spoke the galaxies into existence, took on human flesh in the womb of a virgin in a small town called Nazareth. We claim that this God-made man was born in Bethlehem, grew up as a carpenter's son, walked the dusty roads of Palestine, and was executed under the Roman governor Pontius Pilate in Jerusalem. Consider what this means. Muhammad is honored by Muslims as the greatest of prophets, but no Muslim claims that Muhammad is God. Buddha is revered by Buddhists as the enlightened one, but Buddhists do not teach that Buddha is the creator of the universe. Confucius is respected as a wise philosopher, but no one suggests that Confucius is divine. Only in Christianity do we encounter this staggering claim that the baby lying in the manger, wrapped in swaddling clothes, is the same being who created the stars and holds all things in existence by His power. This changes everything. This means that Christianity cannot simply be placed alongside other religions as one option among many, like different flavors of ice cream on a shelf. If Jesus is who He claimed to be, then Christianity stands in a category entirely its own. And if Jesus is not who He claimed to be, then Christianity is not just mistaken. It would be the greatest fraud ever perpetrated on the human race. This is where we arrive at what I call the crossroads, the point where you cannot simply continue walking straight ahead. You must choose a direction. You must make a decision. And there is no comfortable middle ground, no matter how much we might wish there were. The great Christian writer C.S. Lewis, who was himself an atheist before his conversion, put this dilemma in terms that have never been improved upon. He said that when we look at Jesus Christ, we are faced with only 3 possibilities. Either Jesus was a liar, a man who knew his claims were false, but made them anyway to gain followers and power. Or Jesus was a lunatic, a sincere but deluded man who genuinely believed he was God when in fact he was mentally ill. Or Jesus was exactly who He claimed to be, the Lord of all creation, God incarnate, the way, the truth, and the life. What Lewis insisted upon, and what we must understand clearly, is that there is no fourth option. You cannot simply say that Jesus was a good moral teacher and leave it at that. A mere man who claimed to be God, who accepted worship, who said that He existed before Abraham and that He and the Father are one, who promised to forgive sins and to give eternal life, such a man cannot be merely a good teacher. Good teachers do not make claims like these unless those claims are true. If Jesus was wrong about His own identity, then He was either deliberately deceiving people or tragically deceived Himself. There is no middle path. And this is precisely why we cannot say that all religions are the same. Because Christianity is not offering you a philosophy or a set of ethical guidelines or a meditation technique. Christianity is offering you a person. Christianity is telling you that the frail infant born in a stable in Bethlehem, that helpless child laid in a feeding trough for animals, is the eternal Logos through whom all things were made. Christianity is telling you that the man who hung bleeding on a Roman cross outside Jerusalem is the same being who flung the galaxies into space and who sustains every atom in existence at this very moment. Think about what Christians actually believe. We believe that the stars in the night sky, the mountains and oceans, the delicate structure of a single cell, the vast reaches of the cosmos that stretch beyond anything we can imagine, all of it exists for Him and through Him and finds its ultimate meaning in Him. We believe that your life, with all its struggles and hopes and hidden longings, has its deepest purpose in this Jesus of Nazareth. We believe that He is not simply a figure from ancient history, but the living Lord who even now holds you in existence and calls you by name. This is why every Sunday at Mass, when Catholics stand and recite the Creed, we say those remarkable words. He suffered under Pontius Pilate. We are not talking about a myth or a symbol or a spiritual metaphor. We are talking about a specific moment in human history, under a specific Roman governor whose existence is documented in secular records, in a specific place that you can visit today if you travel to Jerusalem. The Christian faith is anchored in history in a way that no other religion is. We are not asking you to believe in timeless truths floating somewhere in the abstract realm of ideas. We are asking you to believe that God entered our world, walked our earth, breathed our air, and died our death. And here is what makes this even more extraordinary. Catholics believe that this same Jesus, risen from the dead, continues to live and act in the world today through His body, which is the Church. The Catholic Church is not merely an organization founded by religious people who wanted to preserve the memory of a great teacher. The Church is the ongoing presence of Christ in history. When you encounter the Church with all her human weakness and all her divine grace, you are encountering Christ Himself, extended through time and space. Yes, the Church has sinful members. We know this painfully well. Every Catholic is aware that the history of the Church includes scandals and failures and betrayals of the gospel we profess. But the Church is not defined by her worst members any more than a hospital is defined by its sickest patients. The Church remains holy because Christ remains holy, and because the sacraments she offers, the word she proclaims, and the teaching she preserves come not from human invention, but from divine institution. The grace of God flows through the Church despite our unworthiness because the Church is not ours. She belongs to Christ. Now, I want to be absolutely clear about something because misunderstanding on this point has caused tremendous harm throughout history. When Catholics say that the fullness of truth is found in the Catholic Church, we are not preaching hatred. We are not calling for violence against those who believe differently. We are not claiming that people of other faiths are our enemies or that we are superior to them as human beings. What we are saying is something far more humble and far more urgent. We are saying that we have received a gift we did not earn and do not deserve, the gift of knowing that God has revealed Himself definitively in Jesus Christ, and that this revelation continues to be transmitted faithfully through His Church. And precisely because this is a gift of infinite value, precisely because it concerns the eternal destiny of every human soul, we would be failing in love if we kept. Think about it this way. If you knew the cure for a deadly disease, would it be kind to keep that knowledge secret because you did not want to offend people who believed in different treatments? If you knew the way out of a burning building, would it be tolerant to say nothing because others might prefer to find their own path? True love does not hide the truth. True love shares it gently and respectfully, but clearly and without apology. This is why the Church has always been missionary. Not because Catholics think we are better than everyone else, but because we believe we have encountered the living God, and that encounter is meant to be shared with the whole human race. We do not want to conquer or coerce. We want to invite. We want to propose the faith, not impose it. Every person must come to God freely, because love that is forced is not love at all. And here we touch on something beautiful that sets the Catholic faith apart from any religion that would spread itself by violence or intimidation. From the very beginning, from the age of the martyrs in the Roman arenas, Christians have understood that our faith is not something we kill for. Our faith is something we die for. The blood of the martyrs, as the early church father Tertullian wrote, is the seed of the church. When Christians face persecution, we do not reach for weapons. We reach for prayer. We respond to hatred with forgiveness, to violence with sacrifice, to death with the hope of resurrection. This is the faith I am proposing to you today. Not a faith of aggression or superiority, but a faith of love so profound that it led God Himself to become a helpless infant, a condemned criminal, a man dying in agony on a cross. He did all of this for you. He did it because He loves you with a love beyond anything you can imagine, a love that wanted to bridge the infinite distance between Creator and creature, a love that refused to let sin and death have the final word. So I leave you with a question, and it is the most important question you will ever face. If Jesus Christ is truly who He claimed to be, if He is truly God incarnate, who died and rose again, then what will you do with that truth? Will you ignore it? Will you place it on a shelf alongside other interesting ideas? Or will you let it transform your life from the inside out? He died for you. The only question that remains is whether you will live for Him.